from 572 in 2004 to 396.72 in 2007. PEI deliberately don't treat votes as for senatorial candidates. Ano ang gap dito? The gap is, Chairman Avalos admitted that multiple registrants in ARM, including LDS, was not cleansed. There is a 100% increase of our voters. Yes or no? 2008. This was the first electronic voting. Tingnan natin. This was the ARM election. ARM was COMELEC's pilot program for automated election system. This was the first election electronic system, and we are the laboratory. ARM is the laboratory of COMELEC. The 6 provinces of ARM covered 1.15 municipalities and 2,470 barangays. There was a total of 1,516,259 registered voters, and about 11,000 military personnel and 7,000 policemen were deployed. Okay, COMELEC used the optical mark reader or OMR and the direct DRE or touchscreen electronic voting. By simply touching the candidate's picture, they will elect. Maganda sana yun kasi makita mo yung picture, you just i-touch mo lang, siya ang mag-appear. Of an automated election due to the errors and connections on the use of the OMR and DRE. These are the observations of many monitors. Both shading the OMR were exposed to tampering. Madali siyang itamper. The distribution of OMR was exposed to advanced shading. Ito pa kaya buyuan muna. The attached 186 keyboard in the ACN is open to intrusion. Pwedeng sino-sino magpindot maano. So there are scratches and smudges of the ballots hampered optical scanning. The folding and unfolding result to delays. Paper jamming of OMRs. Then, isa pa, there was a lack of training of PEIs as shown in the tearing off of barcodes. Hirap ko na is-iran sa mga barcodes. Lack of procedural knowledge of PEIs in disposing of invalid ballots. Discrepancies in the number of actual voters and counted ballots. Mas madagal so, niya kabuto. Adiso tao po yun. Some systems, including laptops, stopped functioning, and there was a malfunction of the infrastructure and communication. In 2008, that was the fastest election because after 2 days, the COMELEC announced the victory of the winners. After 3 days. What about the May election, the latest one? In the May elections, it was the launching of the first automated election system, providing an air of excitement and uncertainty. Madam la excited ka computerized na. Yung iba naman, skeptical pa rin. Like this, on May 3, 2010, during the COMELEC's final testing of the PCOS, machines went awry with glitches involving the compact flash, forcing the poll body to recall the CFs for reconfiguration. In spite of the glitches, sabi ng COMELEC, COMELEC assured the public the system was ready. So, the election went on May 10. Cheating and violence continue to prevail. Guys, there was a widespread technical glitches, transmission failures, and other problems. PCOS machines arriving late, inoperable, and breaking down. Inadequate continuity and contingency plans of by COMELEC. Because machines were not tested. Some machines were found defective. CFs were not installed on time. Batteries drained in the middle of voting. Technicians and PEIs turned out to be ill-equipped in opening and troubleshooting the PCOS machine. Dapat yung mga PEIs marunong mag-troubleshoot at saka yung mga technicians. So ang nangyari, the universal principle of democratic election, which is secret voting and public counting, was glaringly desecrated. Di yan pag-apply kung ranaw. Not only by the views of the flawed PCOS, but also the unreasonable intervention of some COMELEC officials in cahoots with some politicians who insisted on centralizing the counting, canvassing, and transmission of votes. What are the cases of election-related violence? Ito sila. Alam natin yung nangyari sa Tugaya. There were murders and indiscriminate firing, physical assault, fight over flying voters, unauthorized persons inside the precincts, threats, of course, threats and intimidation, and of course, there were many cases of fraud. In 2011, we knew that the ARC election was postponed. No? To synchronize the ARC elections with national elections, and officers in charge were appointed for the time being. So walang namatay, walang ginastusan. The Congress to is so armed because there was a postponement. Now, given all of these those are the usual, typical eman tano galbut tano ang mga puda korona yung ranaw. Puda korona yung ranaw. Basta susutano na deputy, nasisita no ko corner, nabatalo ng bugilay with folded arms, skeptical at tira na lagi-lagi diunan. So this will take a closer look on violence, democracy, and rule of law in Lanao del Sur. Ito ang talagang nangyayari. No one has been charged by COMELEC for election violence. To this day, meron ba mga election lawyers? No one has been charged by COMELEC. Klaro-klaro, pero walang na-charge. COMELEC Resolution 8741 limited to bear arms during the elections. Section 6 of same resolution also gives politicians the right to avail of the services of the PNP, AFP, and NBI for security purposes. I would like to ask Commissioner Ilyas Yusuf if this still holds true. Then, okay, he will explain. Then worse, COMELEC Resolution 8742 amended the provision on who has the right to bear arms to include the CAFUs. So CAFUs. Politicians were given leeway to use security forces for partisan purposes. Yaw sa sukap ko campaign period, including the CVOs, thus making the group the paramilitary unit, consequently becoming private armies of politicians. Pero hindi pa yan tapos. Please take note of that kasi it will contribute to the next slide. In 2006, Executive Order number 546 allows the CVOs under the jurisdiction of the local chief executive. So, yan po ang mga mayors o CVOs. Even PNP Director General Versosa revealed that there are 68 active private armed groups or PAGs. Of the number, 25 are in armed, while 43 are outside. Lanao del Sur has 23 PAGs. Meron ba? Wala akong makita. Private armed group. This is according to General Versosa. With the connivance of COMELEC and local officials, these PAGs are instrument in making Lanao del Sur as a cheating capital. So yun, nagkaano yun, as a cheating capital. No one has been, okay. As a result, the vast majority of Maranao electorate are foes, if not victims, of these political games. Pati tayo mga electorate, sa plano ang mga elector na pagkano saya. Nabasirang buong mga kandidato, nabasirang buong mga sundero, polis, mga maestro, kapalitan sa citizen. I am not exempting myself because I am an active elector. No? But still hopeful that someday this will come to an end. Political dynasty. Aside from the PAGs, private army, mayroon tayong entrenched political dynasties and private armies. The idiom, blood is thicker than water, does not hold true to Lanao anymore. Ito ang ating display. Nga election na miya kabinasa ang kaya sabat. Kaya binasa niya na miya deso relationships. Miya miya kamadala miya kang blog-karumay because of this. Members of same families not only vying for political power but also fighting against one another of same positions. Kaliatan di man magpilay. Magyari, bata-bataa, tingit-tingit minsan, na ayaw di man magugosa kada to. These rich and influential families aggravates vote buying. Another case prevails in the case of political warlordism, where control of terror is used to guarantee political obedience. There is a monopoly of leadership as a few families control also governing positions. Paramihan sa mga kandidato na sa poder. Accordingly, there is no enabling law that prohibits political dynasties as yet. Wala pa man. So kapakay isa ka pamilya na tamang o mga apo, pinalapis sa apo na ayad ni ko hadot na kitabo. Pamilya mi na chiton. Way mapya mama na chit na go bende sila ni man pakadakol. If maratabat tanwan, di tanu din beluin na laboratory mga gobyerno. Okay. The government take advantage of our being a minority. And of course, some of us are vulnerable because of the so-called political spoils. Alam natin, uugupin ka si gobernador, uugupin ka si mayor, na na-insisala na uugupang usla mamugi president ang belwi ka ambasador. Let us journey together towards a transformed Lanao electorate this May 2013. Kung na dito mo tamya nga i-post na mimulitual lesson na ipmaratabatan wa kamamaranawirtan. Let us make ARM and Lanao del Sur a laboratory for reform. Belantano, agi Lanao del Sur na laboratory for reform. Yes or no? Di tanod ni man tumakiusar. Let us bring back the days Lanao del Sur we knew before. That is berabangsaan. Sumranaw na berabangsaan. Di nga kirtu, ang bepeso bisaya na di nga kirtu si bisaya kay bunuyan ka. Ako, ikaswi tanong-tanong ulaw-ulaw mga looks. Finally, this is the challenge no less than the President of the US. I read this last night. Sabi niya, politics has become so bitter and partisan, so gummed up by money and influence, that we can tackle the big problems that demand solutions, and that's what we have to change. First, we have to change our politics and come together around our common interests and concerns. Thank you very much.
Salamat salamat. May nagtanong pipi ang ito message si Dipsy na ito na from the bottom of his heart,